shaking his head as he passed a depiction of bedroom sport that was, even to one of his jaded experience, extreme. Fenton was about to return to the entertainment when he was arrested by a short, sharp squeal and the sound of tearing fabric. He turned, his eyes quickly becoming accustomed to the gloom until he caught sight of movement. After a short silence came a deep sigh, followed by Miss Brightwell's dry, unmistakable tones. "Of all the inconvenient times to be disrobed!" A little shocked, Fenton moved closer, following the direction of her voice. He melted into the shadows and watched her in a shaft of light cast by a candle set high on the wall. She was at the bottom of the pit, sitting amongst a collection of brightly coloured silk cushions, staring with dismay at her gold-flecked skirts. The diaphanous fabric hung limply, torn almost entirely free of her bodice, exposing her chemise. The sight of the crisp linen undergarment thus revealed, so pristine yet so shocking, was strangely erotic. Fenton was torn too, torn between what a real gentleman ought to do and what, in truth, he felt like doing. The ladies' sewing room was just down the corridor. A real gentleman would hasten there and return with needle and thread to render assistance. By contrast, he wanted to hurl himself upon her and roll around in that pit of cushions, tearing the rest of her gown from her and running his hands all over her soft, fragrant body with the passion of a first-time smitten green boy. Such unadulterated lust was combined, however, with a healthy desire to atone. Therefore, a trip to the ladies' sewing room and the prospect of 2 minutes' conversation with hatchet-faced Miss Mortimer, whose domain it was, would hopefully have the required dampening effect. He turned his footsteps in that direction. He wanted Miss Brightwell, but he had no intention of repeating his rash overtures, albeit delicious, of the other night if it should in any way compromise her. She featured in his more long-term plans, and he wanted her to know it. Delivering to Miss Brightwell the means to return to the ballroom with her dignity intact might be one way to reassure her that his intentions towards her were honourable. He was unprepared upon his return to the pit of cushions for his crushing disappointment at discovering the object of his desire gone. Raising his candle, he peered through the gloom, expectant hope returning at a very unladylike exclamation from the darkness beyond what he had at first taken to be a screen. Drawing nearer, he discovered it was a tent festooned with swathes of red silk woven with elaborate designs in green and royal purple. About to announce his presence as he searched for the entrance, he was taken aback to discover what could only be a series of peepholes cut into the fabric. Fenton's mission to the ladies' mending room in the face of almost insurmountable temptation had surely established his credentials as a gentleman. But what gentleman could resist putting his eye to the peephole? It was spontaneous curiosity, not the conscious intention to spy, that had him gazing upon the incredibly arousing sight of Miss Brightwell, with her hair in disarray, hitching her skirts thigh-high to adjust her garter. Such a sight would, he felt sure, have robbed far more gentlemanly gentlemen than he of their good manners. Yet good manners demanded that he step away and announce his presence, giving her time to make herself presentable. Indeed, he was on the point of doing just that, when his practised eye was caught by a flash of creamy, womanly curves that not even the most disciplined of gentlemen could resist. Suddenly, he'd never wanted anything, or anyone, so much.